Maybe it's because my birthday is coming up, making me 1 year older again, causing me to reflect about my life. Maybe it's because so much of our daily life and the things we're able to do, especially outside of the house, has been outside of our own control this last year, causing me to think about the things I do have control over. Maybe it's living in the same place and the same city for so long, making me feel at times like I'm in a bit of a rut. Or maybe it's just a random phase I'm going through. But lately, I've been thinking a lot about intentional living. What does it really mean? Am I living with intention? And if so, in what ways? On this channel, I've made many videos by now about minimalism, simplifying life, living with more intention, slowing down, practicing self-care, all of these things. And in a few of those videos, I get a little bit more personal and I share more about my own personal private story. This is one of those videos. When you watch videos about minimalism and simplifying life, it might look like us creators have all the answers, but the truth is that I'm also still learning and evolving in living a happy, healthy, and intentional life. And in today's video, I want to share some recent insights that I've had with you and 6 new intentional living habits that I started implementing myself. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe down below to follow along with future videos, and let's get started. If you're new to intentional living, it basically means understanding your values and beliefs and actively trying to live your life in alignment with those, instead of getting caught up in what everyone else is doing or what we feel society wants us to pursue, making these conscious choices for ourselves in a very deliberate way. So really thinking about where we're going and why, instead of just jumping through hoop after hoop. Something that I've recently been doing a lot of thinking about is that I'm starting to value process over progress in my life. When I was younger, I was a bit of a perfectionist, and when I was learning to let go of my perfectionism, the phrase progress over perfection was very helpful for me. This idea of just getting a little bit better at something every day instead of always demanding perfection of yourself. And I think this is a good thing in its essence. The thing with progress, however, is that it can also be restrictive and a bit anxiety-inducing at times, because it is this feeling that if we're always focused on progress, we always feel like we need to move forward or get better or earn more money or get really good at something or reach a higher level of success, or in my case, make better videos, get more views, get more subscribers. And so while progress could be a good thing to aim for, I'm starting to also feel like it shouldn't be the only thing or the main thing that we should focus on. A good example of this is my yoga practice. Now, you may not notice about me, but physically, I am very inflexible, extremely inflexible, and I have the natural upper body strength of a baby chicken. And this is not me being modest, it's very true. And so while I do have a few good things going for me, like for example, I have good balance because I've been doing Tai Chi for such a long time. I have good, strong muscles in my back and my legs, for example. My yoga progress has been extremely slow. Looking back on when I started about 6 years ago, not even being able to sit in a cross-legged position at all, to now being able to most days comfortably do that, I know that there has been progress. But I am still, for example, not able to reach my toes without generously bending my legs. Or I'm still not able to do a crow position. I'm still not able to do a proper chaturanga without doing a few belly flops in between. And that feels very frustrating at times. And this got me thinking, why am I even doing yoga? Because while it would be very cool to be really good at it and hit those moves like on a magazine, it's not the reason I do yoga. I like having that mindful moment with my body and my breath. I like that it's good for my health. I always feel better afterwards, and I will get these results whether or not I actually improve in my yoga qualities. And so now, instead of asking myself, am I making progress? I first ask myself, am I enjoying the process? I think if we allow ourselves to enjoy the process instead of always focusing on are we getting better at it or how well we are doing it, we will automatically improve over time because we actually enjoy it, we'll do it more regularly, and we will automatically see those results. We don't have to focus on them too much. We don't have to compare our performance to those of others. We don't have to demand perfection or feel unsatisfied if the progress is very slow. So for me, this is something I've been practicing lately. Another intentional living habit that I started doing recently is asking myself, how is what I'm doing today going to affect the life and happiness of future Vera? I am all for living mindfully in the moment and not thinking too much about the future or the past. But I also think that a large part of intentional living and also just basic self-care is thinking about how you can make your life better, easier, healthier, more enjoyable in the weeks and months and years to come. This can be little things like asking yourself, if I drink this extra cup of coffee now, will I feel jittery and nervous and rushed an hour from now? And if so, maybe I'll switch to herbal tea. Or if I work through this fatigue now instead of taking a much needed break, will I then end up feeling like crap for a week afterwards? Because even though I secretly know what it'll do to me, I still cross my own boundaries when it comes to work at times. And especially after going through a really severe burnout myself, I know that my limits are more easily reached and I need to be extra mindful, even though that frustrates me at times. Or more in the long term, and one example of that is the new health journey that I have been on for the last 2 months, changing a lot about how I eat, how often I exercise, and just general habits when it comes to food, like comfort eating, that I'm trying to change based on some recent weight gain. I talk more in depth about my weight and health journey over on my Patreon, simply because it's quite personal in nature. But if you are interested in hearing about some of the changes that I'm making, you can always join us over there. I make at least 2 extra videos a month for my Patreon subscribers, and it is a great way to support the channel as well. You can sign up at patreon.com/simplehappyzen. Stop making goals time-bound. Something else I've been thinking about lately is when it makes sense to put time goals or time pressures on things, and when it makes more sense to let that pressure go. For example, they always say that you should make your goals SMART, and the T at the end then stands for time-bound. But for me, I found that in some cases, it doesn't make a lot of sense making my goals or achievements time-bound, and it doesn't help me to actually achieve them sooner, and it can actually make things unnecessarily stressful. A good example of this for me could be YouTube subscribers, and I've decided not to put a time-bound goal on when I reach 200,000, for example, because so much of that is outside of my own control. Even though I basically put everything that I have into each and every video that I make, there's really no way to tell which videos are going to perform well and which ones are just not going to reach a lot of new people. So my advice to you would also be to just ask yourself if it actually makes sense for your goals to make them time-bound, if it will actually help you to achieve them quicker or better, or if it will only just add to your stress and anxiety. Making a different choice on which things are wasting my time. Ever since recovering from my burnout, I've realized that not being productive does not mean that I am wasting my time. And I've talked about this a lot on the channel, about the importance of downtime, the importance of doing things simply because you enjoy doing them for no reason at all, and that these things are not wasting your time, but are actually really important. And even though I know this, I still need to tell myself this at times as well. Someone who's in my Patreon community recently shared a mantra that she liked to use herself, and that was, there is no scarcity of time. And I thought that was so great, because it's often because we feel like we don't have enough time in the day that we end up feeling this constant state of rushing without an immediate reason, and feeling that just sitting down and doing nothing or doing something completely unproductive is a waste of time because there's a scarcity of it. I've been asking myself lately also how much of my downtime still needs to be productive downtime, is what I call it. Like, is it okay for me to spend an hour or 2 or 3 playing The Sims because I enjoy it and it relaxes me? Or should I also work on hobbies that are a bit more productive in the sense that it'll contribute to something? Like, for example, learn the guitar or practice art or study my Japanese or journal. It's funny how downtime can still feel like it needs to be at least somewhat productive. And what the balance is there, I'm still not exactly sure for myself, but I think this is a good thing to think about. Am I investing time and energy into the right things? Something else I've been pondering lately, and this is something that you can ask yourself as well, is am I investing my time and energy into the right things? This is not an easy question to answer, at least for me, or even to know what the right things are. But for me, an example could be investing in my relationships with my boyfriend, with my friends. How are the things I do impacting those around me that I love, and am I contributing something to someone? Or are the things I'm doing now actually good for my health, which is something that I've identified as being something important? Because it's very easy to say that things are important to you, like your relationships or your health, but it is not actually so easy to align our day-to-day actions with those things that we have identified as being important. Like, we can say that our health is important to us, but that doesn't make it easier to actually make time to exercise and cook healthy meals and not eating so many snacks all the time. And even here, I don't think that we need to strive for perfection, and not everything needs to be intentional and deliberate. But I do think that this could be a good thing to think about every so often and get that balance right most of the time. It just started raining and the sky turned almost completely black, so I'm pretty sure the lighting changed in the video. My apologies, but yeah, that's why. We've been having a strange summer here. And lastly, I've been thinking about how am I opening up to others in my life. And this is a little tricky to explain, but I feel that by focusing very strongly on minimizing and simplifying and making things more intentional and slowing down and self-care, the possible pitfall here is to go inside your own shell even more and to even become a little self-absorbed at times and just forget about all the other people around you. Especially for me, being an introvert and needing lots and lots of alone time, focusing on myself, that is kind of like my comfort zone. And if you recognize that in yourself, I think it could be a good idea to think about how you can also open up a bit more and come out of your shell a bit more. For example, asking yourself, am I getting in touch with my friends enough? Am I reaching out to people enough? And do they know that they're still in my heart and in my head? Can I do something for someone else without crossing my own boundaries in the process, especially the people that we live with? So these are just some of my recent musings, I guess, and I'd be very curious to know what you think and also how you are living with more intention. So please share that in the comments so we can continue our conversation there. I'm thinking of making a more in-depth video about intentional living for beginners in the near future, so be sure to subscribe if you're interested in that. And if you could give this video a thumbs up, that would be great as well. If you're looking for some mindset habits for a simpler and happier life, I recommend checking out this video. This video is also good. And as always, questions, comments, conversations down below. Have a lovely day, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.